Hello and welcome back to the Off the Line Performance YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be tearing apart this 07 Limited STI transmission out of our 07 Limited, Jay. If you know, that thing right there. Yep, that thing. Justin said that this thing drives like shit for like 6 months, but he waited until it's going to the track this week for me to rebuild it. Isn't that fun? This is an instructional video. I'm going to show you how to take this thing apart, but be forewarned. There's a lot of very, very small and intricate parts inside this transmission. And if you drop something, lose a part, anything like that, it can get extremely confusing. There's a ton of different part numbers for what goes inside this thing. So by all means, if you feel that you're capable, go for it, try it, do it yourself. There are certain special tools you are going to need to take the stacks apart. But simple things like a shift fork and stuff like that, you could totally do at home. But just be forewarned, before you go tearing into this thing, understand that there is very, very many parts in these things. So, all right, without further ado, let's start taking the tail shaft off. So we're gonna start by taking off our shift, I don't know, interlock, I guess. This shift rod is what controls the whole shift mechanism. And then this is just a bushing clasp or whatever. So I don't know the technical names for these things. Bracket, probably bracket would be the right one. Hey Jay, do you see this here? Is that the OTL shift bushing available at offthelineperformance.com?
What does that thing do, Grayson?
What this thing does is it replaces, I just threw away a factory one. I literally just threw it away. This replaces your factory shift bushing that just has plastic collars on the inside. This has a nice brass collar. That's just lubricant. You can see that it's still brass there. So basically this is going to take any sort of side-to-side play that you have when it's in gear, and it's going to alleviate almost all of that. Actually, come here, Jay. Come here. I just did a trans rebuild on this 07, and I actually put one in. Jay, why don't you climb in there and feel that shifter? Climb in there.
Okay, sure.
Climb in there, dude. Ooh. Yeah, put it in gear. Put it in gear. Dang, how's that side-to-side movement? Yeah, that's nice, right? Okay, anyway. Those are available at offthelineperformance.com. Okay, next up, what I like to do here to get this bracket off is pull it back into gear. Okay, there's an inner and an outer. So I got the inner out. The inner out. There it goes. Outer. Now this can come right off. All right, now we can actually open up the transmission. Ooh. Sorry. All right, take all these bolts out. This is called the tail housing. This houses your output shaft and your transfer gear. If you've ever heard of an upgraded output shaft, that's what this is right here, and the transfer gear is in this other part. We'll get those opened up so you can see. This is a super secret special tool that I have. It's literally a Family Dollar meat cleaver. The reason I use it is because it's very strong but also very thin, so you can separate these RTV'd surfaces without marring up the flat finish, you know. There it goes. Then once you get your cleaver in, you know, you can stick an actual pry bar in there and kind of work it loose. And this is going to come right off. All right. Make sure we don't have any parts like this. Be mindful to keep your needle bearings. These will go flying. So yeah, this is your transfer gear here, and this is your output shaft. So. All right, take those. I try to stay very organized with the parts. So these little magnetic part holders are very, very useful. Okay, next up, this right here is your DC-CD. You know, the center differential, the big, you know, ooh-ah. This is the DC-CD. It's very expensive, so you want to be careful when you're handling it, but you got to disconnect it. There's a little tab down here on the bottom. Pull that out. This is a fluid transfer channel thing, so you can just kind of leave that on there. And then I'm trying to pull this thing out, but the needle bearings are stuck inside. It's very common. Just grab a little magnet. Usually you can fish them out. Sometimes you have to use a pocket screwdriver and just kind of set them back in place to then get them out. You'll see what I mean here in a second. So I'm just gonna try to fish it out here. There we go. There we go. This is what was hanging us up. So yeah, these needle bearings just sit on the shaft right here. And yeah, they can be kind of tricky sometimes to get set in. We'll set our DCCD out of the way. Next, we're gonna take our shift selector mechanism here and get rid of that. Just grab this little snap ring and the washer. And this spring right here, your tension of your side-to-side motion, like when you're in neutral and you're going through the keyways of like first, third, fifth, you know, that's what this is. So if you notice, if I take this shift arm here and oh, it's in gear. Oops, hang on. Okay, still in gear. There we go. See how I can rotate this side to side? That's your keyways. Kind of cool. Get rid of that. Now at this point, I like to pull it back up into gear and leave it in there for the remaining part of the teardown, as much as I can at least. And then there's another pin right here that we got to get out. Also, a little pro tip here. When you're hammering these pins out, they really love to go flying. What I like to do is just take my pocket magnet and just stick it onto the actual pin that's coming out the other side. That way, when it comes out, it doesn't go flying. Here we go. Another pin. Then we'll take our ball here out. So this little plug here holds the spring and ball detent for the shift mechanism. So we'll take our spring out. Our ball detent. This isn't even the small one. It's the big one. Now that that's out, we can kind of break this loose off this rod here. Pull this whole shift arm out. If you don't take that ball detent out, and you yank this out, that ball will just spit out. Sometimes it can fall into one of these holes though, so that's why I take it out before. All right, next up, we need a manual impact driver. I've tried to do this with just a regular, gun impact, and it'll either break or strip the fastener, or it'll break the socket. So we're going to use a T40 on all of these Allen heads here, but like I said, we're going to use a manual impact driver. One of these before, basically, just hold this and hammer down, and as you're holding it down, when you hammer, it's going to force the socket down into the fastener so it doesn't strip. And when it does that, there's a mechanism in here that twists it to try to break it loose. So we're going to grab this. Do not attempt to take these out without this. I promise you, do not. You have to use this. All right, there's one. There's a whole bunch we got to take out. But we'll start with these two. So this gear that we're removing right now is the drive gear for the oil pump. Justin's car is a early model 07. The early 07s and 04, 05, and 06 all have a actual physical oil pump on them. The late model 07 and up do not have an oil pump on them. The difference is there. Obviously, it's forcing fluid through the transmission, so some people see that as better. But also the DCCD is different. Everything's just a little bit different. So, oil pump drive right there. And then underneath this big cast plate here is the actual pump. We'll get that out in a second. For now, I'm just gonna work on getting all the rest of those T40 fasteners out. These ones are very stuck. My hands are extremely slimy. Okay, we got all those. Those ones are definitely the problem children that will break and snap and strip and all that stuff. These other ones usually are a little bit easier on you, but I still don't even risk it. Ow. See how mushroomed out this tool is from all the transmission rebuilds? It's the only time I ever use this tool. All right, there we go. Those are all cracked loose. We'll just finish taking all these out. All right, we got all those pesky T40s out. Now to get this plate off, you kind of just got to wiggle it a little bit and normally it'll pop off. Sometimes I have to get a little pry tool in there, but there it goes. All right. Don't lose this. It's a little shim. Just sits in this receptacle right there. Sits right on top of the main shaft. What you'll notice is what I like to do is take all my rings. There's a snap ring here and some shims here. I like to just hang them right on this little stud. That way I know they don't go rolling off or take off on their own. Next up, we are going to take our slimy snap ring pliers here. Get the snap ring out. I like to just spread them a little bit with the pliers and then kind of work it over that lip with a screwdriver, or in this case, a pocket pry bar. All right, got that out. Then we'll take our handy dandy magnet. We'll get this oil pump off. Come on. This might have to come out later. Sometimes they get a little stuck in there. Maybe I can coerce it a little bit here. There we go. All right. Okay, and then, like I said, these guys, you get these shims out and this ring. Okay, now we can take apart the main barrel, which means we can raise this up. So I'm gonna raise it up a little bit. Big shout out to our boy Eric for making me this transmission service table. It makes working on these so easy. Now, this is our oil transfer tube here. Quick and easy way to tell if it is a oil pumped transmission, like I was talking about earlier, is if it has this tube. The 04 to early 07 ones will all have this tube. If it has DCCD, I don't know if the JDM ones have them or not. But 08 and up, or late 07, 08 and up will not have this tube. Next one, there's this screw that goes into a big aluminum puck for the reverse. We're gonna take this out. And then we have a couple 17s to take out up here on the front of it. These are responsible for holding the outer part of the shift selector rings in place. Or no, it's not, that's not it. No. Cut that, cut that. This is for holding the shift rod keyways in place. That's what it is. Okay, now we can take all these 14s around the perimeter out. There's a couple on the back side that are nuts and they kind of take out. So we'll work on those first. I wish there was a good way to get a power tool on these, but there's really not. You kind of just got to use the open end. Got a 14 on a wobble socket. Wobble extension, I mean. Okay. Pull all these out. All right. Now I'm going to just disconnect some of this stuff here so it doesn't get hung up. Come on. Take the vent tube off. Then our whole harness can kind of just chill right up here because this whole barrel is going to come off, like I said. All right. Get our handy dandy cleaver out once again. And there is a couple good points on these cases to pry from. They actually make nice little pry chucks here, so we'll just go right there. Da, 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 da. Look at that. All right. When I take the barrel off, first thing I'm going to do is just do a visual inspection, make sure there's no chunks floating around. Yeah, everything looks clean. Our sump for our oil pump is right down here. We'll take that off at the end. Now we can start our first visual inspection. So first initial thing I check when I pull the barrel off is the engagement teeth on the gear. And let me give you an example, 1 second. Okay, so this is the third gear I just pulled out of that 07 right over there. You can see the teeth are just very so slightly rounded off, right? They're just not pointy. If you look at some of the gears here, they're a lot more pointy. See what I mean? Right here on the top, right? Let me get my, I need like a pointer finger or something like that. These guys right here, those teeth. So this is part of this gear here, right? This STI transmission and most manual transmissions you're gonna find in most cars is a constant mesh transmission. What that means is these gears are always meshed. See how they're just chilling? No matter what gear you're in, it is constantly meshed. And then what gear actually gets power delivered through it is determined by these forks. Ah, come on. These ball detents are strong. So when this hub slider here meshes onto this gear, it's going to send power through this hub slider and out to the wheels, right? So what that means is if these teeth are marred up or the teeth on this hub slider are marred up, that's when you're gonna get your grind going in and out of gear. You're gonna get just poor engagement. Maybe you have to kind of force it into gear, stuff like that. You'll get a nice smooth engagement with those pointy teeth. So since I don't see anything right here at this point, but we know that there's a problem from Justin driving it, from Jay driving it, I'm gonna pull these stacks off. We're gonna try to get a better look at it. We're gonna inspect the forks, all the hubs and everything. We'll see what we find. That 12 mil that we pulled out earlier went into the big aluminum puck I was telling you about. That's what this guy is right here. So in order to get this off, you just pull this slider up into gear. Is it meshed onto another one? No. Well, I can see what the issue was. I don't want to go into gear at all. Since this is fighting me, I'm gonna take out the ball detents for the shift rods first. So just break this loose. This is by far the smallest part in the transmission that I can think of. And that's why I need this special magnet here. Check this out, not this, check this out.
Wait, hold your hand behind it, influencer. Whoa!
I'll get some more of these out. These ones should have plungers, not balls. Yep. I don't know when they switched over to the plungers. I'm pretty sure the 04s all had ball detents right here. I'm assuming they switched over to plungers because people were complaining about how tiny the parts were. So, got all those. Set them in our bin. See, come here. See this? See this? Organized, right? Organized. Do this. Do this, okay? Keep it organized. Keep it clean. At this point, right here, we still have not used any special tools. But breaking these stacks down, that's when you kind of reach the point of no return as far as needing special tools. So, just again, be forewarned. Get this shift rod out. Okay, Jay, you ready for the assist?
Sure.
You ready to be the assist? Okay. I'm gonna move your camera real quick though, because I need gloves.
Oh.
this thing on.
It's on, dude. There you go.
Ready?
How was that the easiest one to ever come out?
I don't know.
That was actually crazy.
Okay, let's start off with inspecting the forks. These shift forks all have these plastic little thingies on them, right? I don't even know, bushings, I guess. And sometimes these will get smashed. Usually by the time they're bad, they'll just kind of fall apart. This one appears to be just fine. This one is going to be for 5th and 6th up here, so, and we weren't having any complaints about that. So let's check the 3-4 one, which is right here. Those seem to be fine. I don't see anything wrong with them. So far, nothing looks broken, which is not good, because then I don't know what to fix. We don't care about reverse. All right, let's look at our main stacks. This is called the pinion shaft here. And underneath the pinion shaft, there's a needle bearing that always gets stuck to it, and it'll separate. That's what this is. I'm just gonna set that right back onto its receptacle right there. We're just gonna leave that there. There's also this bearing here. Don't lose those. You need these. Don't lose those. Okay, so here we have our reverse drive, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. The 1-2 looks fine. 2nd gear is starting to get a tiny bit of wear, but you didn't have any complaints about 2nd, right?
No, 1 to 2 is fine.
Okay, so we'll leave that there. Everyone always asks, why does my STI transmission grind when I go into 1st at 10 mile an hour? This is why, okay? See how all these teeth right here are straight and the peaks are just kind of even? See how these ones are slanted? The STI transmission is not intended to go into 1st gear above like 5 mile an hour. They did not engineer it for that. So if you're getting a grind going into 1st, it's because you're not supposed to be doing that. Next one. Same deal. All the teeth are angled. We're gonna visually inspect all the teeth. 6th looks fine. 5th looks fine. 4th looks fine. And honest to God, 3rd looks good too. So I don't know why it's grinding. But I already have a replacement gear and a replacement hub and a replacement synchro. So we're just going to get to replacing it. Thankfully, I don't have to take anything apart on this one. The special tool you need to take that apart is this guy right here. Kentmore. Part number, you ready? Rapid fire. 18620AA000. That's what the part number is. But you need this because there's not really a good way to get a socket on this, and that kind of splines onto there, right? And you need this to get your accurate torque measurement, because when you're torquing this nut down, it goes to 389 foot-pounds plus whatever that value is on this torque multiplier. So if you're doing things by the book, you need this tool. But the crappy part is this tool does nothing for you if you can't hold this in place. And that's what I'm talking about with these special tools, because we have this thing. I'm sure there is a tool number that was on here at one point, but the shop has owned this thing since before I even worked here, so I don't know where it is. But that's the special tool that you need to torque everything down, and we're gonna use it to remove the nut that's on this shaft right here. Another special tool are these little aluminum pucks. Basically, it just makes it so that there's not any tension and you're putting an even load on the shaft without twisting it or bending it or anything like that.
Do you like even loads on shafts?
I love even loads on shafts. Rolling. All right, we got this thing in the block, supported. We're gonna break this thing loose. Oh, maybe we're gonna break it loose. Oh, there we go. Oh! Now that that's off, we are going to have to relocate. And it might get really loud. And the audio might be crappy because our air compressors are in the same room that our hydraulic press is in. So, Sorry.
To the press room.
To the press room. Now,
Hello, Grayson.
there's probably a very specific way that the book says to do this.
But we don't follow the book.
I do it the way that works for me, dude. And yeah, I've built a lot of these things and they all seem to do pretty good. So we'll get our little claspy deal here. Before you start tearing this apart, these two gears right here are broached onto this main shaft, meaning you can support the main shaft by these gears if you choose to, which I usually do. But don't try to press these off because it's not going to work. All right, we're going to start by putting our press tool on the roller bearing that is on the very end of the transmission shaft. Like that. And we're basically just going to press this thing off in chunks until we have a big stack of gears, synchros, hub sliders, all that stuff that we're just going to assemble on the bench. Got our very fancy press here. This is just a stub that I use as a tool. Got a roller bearing off. What you're going to notice as I take the rest of this stack apart, the way that Justin over here taught me how to do it, the way that works out really well for me and my tiny little peanut brain, is you put everything together on the table upside down. So I'm basically just going to have this stack, and it's just going to be sitting like this when I'm done, right? So this roller bearing does have a top and the bottom. If you remember in the beginning when we were taking apart the tail housing, there was that big snap ring that I used a screwdriver to take off. That was this right here. So we're going to put this upside down. And then I'm going to put my press tool right here on third. And believe it or not, since we're replacing third anyway, even if it gets a little damaged, it doesn't really matter. But I'm going to be able to press this entire stack here off in one move. Take our main shaft. Look at that.
Nice
That's
shaft.
it. Thanks, dude. This needle bearing's just gonna chill. We're just gonna leave that there. Main shaft. I have this nice little teardown cart that I'm using for another customer, but I'm just gonna assemble it right here. So let's get our stack that we just pulled off on the press. Here's the top. Right? I'm gonna just flip that upside down and we'll start replacing stuff. This is our third gear. Yeah, there's a little bit of wear there, you know. Nothing too crazy. Honestly, I wouldn't think it would cause the issues that we're having, but if it is, it is. All these transmission parts, we don't have them on our website, and we probably won't put them on our website, but we do stock a lot of them. So if you email us or call us about a certain part number that you might need, chances are we might have it, so hit us up. All right, you can see the engagement teeth. You can see the engagement teeth here, a lot sharper than what we've got here. Let me set them down so you can get a better view there. So those teeth being worn off on the top, that's what's going to get you that, you know, sloppy engagement, you know, maybe a skip or a grind going into gear. That's what you're going to get. So new gear, you can lay it right here, like so. Then the synchro, let's give a look at that. Very rarely do the synchros actually need to be replaced on these. But since we're here, I'm gonna go check the part number and see if I have the right one. Look at all these transmission parts, dude. Isn't that so cool? Okay, not this one, this one. AA160. How sick is that? Hey look, there's our part. Synchro set, right here. It's the old one, our nice new one. Look at Richie. Look at him. Okay. That has the... Okay. These bulk rings just sit right on here. They're these little teethers that go in these holes. It just sits like that. All right. Now we have the next component, which is the hub slider. So earlier when I was talking about how these sliders actually mesh onto those little teeth, and that's what delivers power, right? This is constantly meshed to the shaft here, right? I might mess up my terminology because I'm tired. When you slide this up and mesh it onto those little teeth, it then turns this inner part that then turns the shaft. Is it making sense? Are you seeing? Is it making sense in your brain, Jay?
Yeah.
Everybody's learning. There's also these tiny little springs here, and these are responsible for when you have that satisfying click into gear. It's a combination of the ball detents that we took out earlier and these little guys. So we're going to take these out, and I have a new sleeve and hub assembly, which is right here. New sleeve and hub. If you notice, there's a little white mark right here that indexes it, right? That is also going to show you which side is up. So the white dots go towards the threaded part, all right? But we are going to have to press this back on. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of set this on there till it stops, and then we're gonna pull this ring back off. We'll go over to the press. All right, when we're pressing this bad boy on, these little chunky bits of the synchro set here, those are going to sit in these grooves. If you don't have that lined up and you go pressing this thing on, it is going to destroy that copper bit, so you got to be careful there. Okay, what I like to do now, there is approximately 4 tons of weight on this right here, right? But a good way to tell that you did your job right is that even though there's 4 tons of pressure getting pushed right here, this still spins. Now we're going to take our outer ring of our hub and slider. We're going to set that on there and be sure to align the dots. At this point, these little springy deals here can totally be reused. Sometimes you'll take these apart and the little bits will be broken off the edge. I'm going to put new ones on just because it's for an internal project. And got our new springs. We'll get all these set in. But you do these, that little shoulder just goes right on this. Now, we're pulling from the stack, right? We already replaced the hub slider, so this is garbage now. We're not going to reuse that. Put that in the discard pile. Now we have our next ring. Again, since we're already here, since this is an internal shop project car, we're going to replace this. But the 07 transmission does have carbon synchros. That's what a carbon synchro looks like. It's not all carbon fiber. The friction surface on the inside, rather than just being copper, it has a carbon liner on it. That's what makes it a copper synchro, or a carbon synchro. And if you want them for your car, there's the part number. Those should work with every STI transmission, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they're compatible to all the versions. And we'll take this. Again, the square bits get lined up with the springs. Then let's check our 4th gear, because 4th gear is also a common one to break. And actually, you know what? I'm pretty sure I have a new 07 4th that's sitting out of a box. This one does have a little bit of wear on it. I'm gonna grab it. I'm gonna put it in. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in. I wrote it on there. And the other way you can tell, honest to God, if you are rebuilding one of these and you're curious if you got the right part, just line them up. As long as the diameter is the same. I know it's the right one. Thank you so much. Welcome. Glad you could cameo. Next up, we have our new 4th gear put in, followed by this needle bearing. And actually, I'll show you. Come around here, Jay. Come around here. On this transmission, on the shaft, you'll see all these little holes, right? Those are oil holes. Those deliver oil. And on this spacer here, you'll notice there's an oil hole. The only important part about these is when you're putting them back on, you just don't want them to be lined up. I try to put them 180 degrees out. That way, the entire circumference gets oil. I'll put that needle bearing in there, and then we'll put our ring on with the press. Hooray! As I add pressure on this needle bearing, I'm just gonna spin this. That way I know that it's not getting bound up, because if at any point this stops spinning, then I'm gonna shut the press off. All right, once again, got about 4 tons of pressure right here. Can't move that. This still spins freely. That still spins. So far, we're off to the right start. Bit is a collar for 5th and 6th. So we have to press that on as well. And that just goes facing like this. Back to the press. Facing that way, so we're going to face this way, like that. Once again, that spacer pushed down on the inner collar that we put on before. Once again, bunch of pressure, it still spins, right? Just check your work as you're going. If you're not checking your work as you're going, you're gonna end up messing something up. Just with every single step you do, check to make sure everything still works together. 5th gear is rarely ever used in racing these things, so it's mint. We'll just plop that thing on there. And once again, we're gonna replace all the synchros in this transmission just to make sure it's 100%. So I got 2 more to unpackage here. And then we got our other hub slider. This one's in fantastic shape. So I'm not gonna replace it, I'm just gonna reuse it, but I am going to replace the little spring clips. This one's so new it still has the paint mark on it. Last synchro. And then we have our 6th gear. Just like so. Again, looks fine. Where's my oil hole at? All right, I put a little extra pressure on there just so we can do a final check. Still spins, everything's happy, everything splines nice and smooth. I don't know why, but it wasn't doing that before. I don't know. So, should be good now. All right, last thing to press on is that big bearing, and then we can put a fresh nut and washer on here, torque it down, and then we'll visually inspect everything else, chuck some stuff in the parts cleaner, and then we'll break for lunch, come back after lunch, put this thing together. We're leaving the noisy room, but we are going back out to where Bob is, so it might be worse. Who knows? Okay, we're gonna put this back in our fixture so we can torque it down. Okay, this nut and washer, the manual calls for it to get replaced every single time you use it. In reality, you could probably reuse it, but we have them because we reuse them, or we don't reuse them. We don't reuse them. This washer is beveled, so it is directional. Probably really hard to see on camera, but the bevel is facing up. You're gonna put that towards the nut. Now let me go get my enormous torque wrench. This is my big torque wrench. It's my favorite. We are going to torque that nut to 289 foot-pounds. That's the big one. 289. And that one's 391. All right.
You're sliding out of your thing.
I'm sliding out of my thing. There we go. There we go. See? 289. Now we'll take our torque wrench, spin it all the way back out. Don't store your manual torque wrenches on a setting. Spin them all the way out. Now, all of this gear fluid that's sitting in here, we're gonna take this mid plate off right here, and I'm gonna chuck this whole thing in the parts washer, just so it can be nice and clean for reassembly. Take our needle bearing out here. All right. These dowels really like to get stuck. They be getting stuck sometimes, you know what I mean? Oops. The way that I like to get these off.
Huh?
Well, the way I like to take these off is just kind of work on one dowel and then kind of get it up out of its socket and then work on the other one. There it goes. Okay, so this is your bell housing and front differential. Come over here, Jay. You look, see this plastic ring right here? The blue plastic ring? That is effectively your speedometer for these GDs. I don't know why Subaru decided to do this, but you have a plastic speed sensor that goes to a plastic gear that meshes to another plastic gear. So if you have a GD and your speed sensor stops working and you put a new speed sensor in and it still doesn't work, you need to replace this. And it's a huge job, and it's a huge pain in the butt. I don't know why Subaru decided to do this, but all the cars after 2008 and up, they don't have this. They run off the ABS sensor, which is much, much better. So let's walk this thing over to the parts cleaner and get it cleaned up. I'll carry that one. It's not that dirty. Here, I'll even give you a...
Oh, nice. A clean rag.
Oh, man. Camera boy don't want to get his hands dirty.
I don't want to touch my camera with my dirty hand, man. So strong.
Wow. This shit is heavy, I won't lie. Okay, so we just put everything besides the main barrel into the parts cleaner, and that's just because it doesn't fit. We'll put that one in there as we're building the transmission off the bell housing and everything. But for now, we're going to replace our 3/4 shift fork. Again, it's just kind of precautionary. I don't know if that's the cause of the issue that we were having before or not, but we're already ripped apart. The car's already taken apart. We're just gonna do it. Brand new shift fork. Easiest way to tell to make sure you got the right one, what I like to do, is just take the existing fork, slide this on there, make sure everything matches, which it does. And to get this off, all we need is a hammer and a punch. And I need to reorganize my tools really bad. See, look, come here. See this? See this? Organized, right? Organized. Do this. Do this, okay? Keep it organized. Keep it clean.
Remember like 10 minutes ago and you're like, oh, organized.
Hey, hey, I don't want to hear it. All right, come over here. Easiest way I've found to do this is to try to hold the fork like this and then hammer straight down, because it's tricky to hold in place. Swing that hammer, dude. Swing that hammer. It's got a little junk on it, but swing that hammer. Do it.
I'm not left-handed, by the way. So, oh.
mess up which way that was oriented. So I'm just gonna slide this off. Just like these. Come on. Fresh one on. All right. Okay, new fork is on. Like I said, I don't know if that was the cause, but you can see the little plastic collars on them are nice and fresh. Whereas these ones, I mean, they're a little worn down, but usually when they're so worn down to the point that they're actually causing an issue, they'll literally just fall apart. And these ones are still on, so whatever. All right, let's go. All right, we're back from lunch. I already pulled this stuff out of the parts washer, blowgunned everything, made sure all the water was out, and we RTV'd this surface here. So yeah, we're ready to go back together. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get this stack off of our torquing fixture. And basically what you kind of have to do is you have to take both shafts and your shift forks, and you kind of have to pre-assemble it on the table, and then you have to lift it all off as one assembly and put it in. It's pretty tricky. And you're gonna need to glove up here in a second, little son.
Or we get the guy that's sitting over there.
Or we get Baba Bob.
This guy. And then I can film.
Hey, Barbara.
No, you're not.
He said, I'm on my lunch break. Just gonna kind of slide the forks into place. So yeah, so you kind of have to pre-assemble it like this, and then I'm gonna pick this whole assembly up, walk it over here and set it on. While I'm doing that, Bobo here is gonna grab reverse and slide it into where it kind of needs to go, and it's all gonna go down as one assembly. Okay.
Top together? All meshes in there?
Yeah. Got it?
Yeah, I think so. Where's my slider go?
Yep. There we go. Thanks, Bob.
Oh, no problem.
He's great. What a great guy. Okay, and I'm gonna check, I'm pretty sure it's already set, that really thin needle bearing that was on the very base of this. If that's off center, this won't sit in its home. So I think it's already set there. I think I had it centered, but I'm just gonna pry this up just a little bit and just get a visual inspection on it. Yeah, so see that needle bearing right there? You can kind of peek that guy right there. So, but it looks like it's in its home. Okay. Everything's meshed. Everything's good. So if we're gonna spin this, we have to make sure all the forks are in neutral. Now they are. Look at that, everything meshes. Good stuff. Okay, now that we have everything set in here, I'm gonna put that puck back in, get all of our plungers put back in, and then after everything's together, the last thing we're gonna do is we're going to peen this nut, which basically means we're just gonna hammer these tabs in so that the nut doesn't move. Get in there, there we go. All right. Doesn't it look so nice? Doesn't that look so clean? Wow. So fresh? Wow. That's nice, dude.
Would you say that putting this back together is technically just reversing how you took it apart?
More or less, yeah. You're basically just gonna do the exact process we did to take it apart, putting it back together. Teeny tiny little ball.
The last daddy light.
Teeny tiny little ball goes in this hole right here. Right there. Just gonna set them in there, followed by the spring. What these guys are doing here, these springs and the detents, what they're doing, the spring is gonna shove that roller ball into some divots that are on these selector forks. Again, that's gonna give you that positive shift engagement. You know, when it clicks into gear, that's what you get. Now that we got the stacks on and all the ball detents in, we're going to put our shift rod in. To do that, why don't you come around the other side? Get a good view, dude.
Get a good view of you putting
Get a
your
good
rod
view.
in.
Yeah, get a good view of me putting my rod in, dude.
Put that rod
Okay, so you spin it, you put it in backwards first off. Set it in backwards. And then you gotta guide this stuff through the shift keyways. There we go. Okay. And you're gonna leave it on there so that these slots here are facing the top of the transmission. Let me show you what those are. Remember those two 17mm pins that we pulled out earlier? Those go through that housing and just sit right here. That's all they do. You just hold it in place. Yeah. See? Right here, dude.
Ball knowledge.
Ball knowledge. Okay. Everything is together now. Let's make sure all the gears are in neutral. Okay. I can take this. What we can do, nice little visual demonstration. Check this out. Wow, look at that. What's up, Ty? You want to be in the video?
No.
Put him in the video. Put him in the video. Cameo. Haha, you're in it now. I already flat razored all this to make sure it was clean. So just make sure there's no oil on it or else you won't get a good seal of your RTV, you know? RTV. RTV. Last thing, like I said, we're just gonna peen this. I just use my pry bar. Now this, super fun part about this process here is when I put this on, you have to be very careful to not hit the forks or else they'll all drop into gear and it can kind of be tricky to get them out of gear with this on. There's a method though, I'll show you guys. I'll show you. Okay, that's dry. We got silicone. First thing we're gonna do is guide the shift rod. Okay. There we go. Come on. There we go.
Did they move?
Probably. But it's okay. I'm just gonna set these bolts in. All right. Housing's now on. We need to make sure that they didn't all drop down into gear. And the way you do that is we're gonna peek through those holes. Yeah, I almost tripped. Okay. So see how it might be really, really hard to see on camera? Yeah. That one's good. The bottom one is dropped down. But the easiest way to remedy that issue is with a pocket screwdriver.
Okay, screwy.
Just gonna just get it down in there and pull up. There it goes. Now, getting those two pins in, after you get the two pins in, you're home free. Everything's easy from here on. But sometimes they can be really tricky. If your detent springs are really worn out, it'll just keep falling out of gear. So if you're having a lot of issues trying to get the barrel back on without it falling out of gear, consider putting fresh springs in. Okay, those are done. For the outside of the case, we also have this 12mm screw that threads into that big aluminum puck that was on top of reverse. So this is gonna locate that and keep it in place. Okay, now we'll get our pump hose. That's why you buy a flex head. Now we're just assembling our tail section here. So we are going to start by, I'm gonna put gloves on again. Did that pick up through here?
Probably.
Good Lord. We're gonna start with installing our oil pump. The oil pump, again, if you have a 2008 or newer car, it's not gonna have this. Oil pump has these two little dots on it to align it. We're gonna set that right here. And just try to, the alignment isn't super important. It's more so to just make it easier to reinstall the gear, because sometimes you have to sit there and spin the gear to try to get it in place. Next, we will do our snap ring and some of our other shims. So we have the shim for this right here, and then this will go on last, the snap ring. What I like to do for this is just take a pry bar and put it on the input shaft. See how it kind of props that up a little bit? See? And then you just push down. Oh, missed it. There we go. Just walk around with your thumb like that.
You saw all of that.
You saw my hand probably, huh? All I did was just split the ring like this, you know? Start one side and then just push it around like this. Okay, now we need to bolt this big cast piece back down. Hold this DC CD wire out of the way. Oh, before I forget. At this point right now, in this process, if I took this and spun it, I would have to disassemble everything all over again with this barrel. So, to prevent it from spinning, what I like to do at this point is to just pull it up into gear. That way this doesn't spin. You know what I mean? Then we can set this big cast piece back on. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. And we're going to do all of our pesky T40s that we did earlier. We'll start with the conical ones, because those go below the pump. Those are all tight. Now we can set our pump on, or sorry, not the pump, the gear for the pump, and it has this little hold down right here. It just slips in above that bearing, like so. And then lays down right in here. This is what I was talking about earlier. Sometimes it's tricky to get the gear in. There it goes. I need to get ran over by a steamroller. That's what I need. That'll make my back feel better. Let's now put the shift selector rod in.
I need to do that. I need to do that bad.
Dude, throwback. You ready for this? How old are you?
24.
You might not remember this. You remember Fushigi? The fucking
yeah,
they were selling
yeah.
they were selling a plastic ball, and they were like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, dude, whoa."
Every
Fushigi!
So you just, yeah.
He should be louder.
You know the people that used to play with Fushigi balls back in the day? Now they're the ones that are at EDM concerts doing this with their fingers.
Oh yeah. I was in marching band, and there was a couple people that had the gloves, and they're like, "Fucking do this
They
shit."
also do LSD.
Probably. I was a child of God back then. Okay, that's all done now. So we can put this back down into neutral. There we go. Next up, we'll grab our DC-CD. These needle bearings, like I said, they can be very finicky. Usually I'll just take a little bit of all-purpose grease and put them on there, because it tends to help hold them in place. Let me go do that real quick. Got a little all-purpose grease on there to hold those in place. Do the same to the other two. Now we can slide our DC-CD on. There's like 3 or 4 different things that this splines into. The easiest way to check to make sure that it is all the way engaged is to just set the output shaft into this bearing race here and see if it doesn't hit anything. I'm going to clean this surface here, bolt the tail housing back on, put our shifter back together, and then this thing's ready to go back in the car. Still magical. Hang on. Come on. Why?
So when does the magic happen?
The magic happens when I say it happens, all right?
All right.
The needle bearings, I'm just checking to make sure they're not popped out. Oh.
Silly you. Oh. The magic.
Magic happened. See, I told you it happened. Okay, now get all of our bolts. Couple of them are longer than the others, so gotta
Same way with men.
be mindful. Yeah. Yeah,
You'll have that.
you'll have that.
Hey, do they still all fasten down though?
That's right.
Oh yeah.
That's right. Let me just reinstall my off-the-line performance solid shift bushing.
Where do you buy those from?
Offthelineperformance.com.
Oh, interesting.
Real talk. You want some real talk? When you're putting these on, something that people commonly mess up is where the hell did I put my socket? That's what they mess up. Okay, the thing that people mess up on this is they'll crank it all the way down. And there's a reason that it comes with the lock nut, and that's because you're supposed to tighten the bolt like that. But now, if this is supposed to be a U-joint and it's supposed to be for shifting, that's really tight. Don't want that. So I tell people to get it tight and then just back it off a quarter turn. Just like that. There. Now you can wiggle it. Even that is just a little bit loose. Let's see if I can get it tuned up here, dude. Hang on.
Are you tuning your shift bushing right now?
That's better. You can move it by hand. It's a little stiff, but not too stiff, because once you have the leverage of the shifter, you know, it'll be fine. But don't crank these all the way down, because all it's going to do is take this ear and pinch this bushing, and then it's not going to work the way you want it to. Fastener. Bye. I'm just kidding. Ends video. Okay, you've officially watched how to replace the majority of stuff, like some stuff in an STI 6-speed. Not very often do we do a complete top to bottom rebuild, new bearings, new, needle bearings, new shims, new everything, just because it's not usually necessary. Let's get it in a second. Call that a sneak preview. Call that a sneak preview. So yeah, we replaced the hubs, slider, third and fourth gear. We replaced all the synchros. We replaced the little shift springs on the hub sliders. We replaced a lot of stuff. So now it's Justin's turn to stab this thing back in the car, and we're gonna take it to the track. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that you can see this transmission perform at the track. Twice? In 2 days. In 2 days, mind you. So hopefully it does well. Hopefully we get some good times. Jay, behind the camera, he's gonna drive it a couple times. Parker's gonna drive it a couple times. So we're gonna see who can get the best 8th mile pass in it. So yeah, hit up our website if you're looking for anything STI or Subaru related. You can call and email us if you have a broken 6-speed or a 6-speed that you're just not happy with. If it has a sloppy engagement, or if it grinds, or it doesn't like downshifting into a certain gear, hit us up. More than likely it's a mechanical issue that we can fix here in-house. And if you want a built transmission like a Rally Spec long ratio, you 04, 05, and 06 guys, you would love those because it makes you in power a lot longer. So I think that's all for this video. So yeah, hit us up on social media, add some comments down below. You know what to do. We'll see you in the next one.